morning. It's exciting to be here. It's my first time. I can't imagine what this was like 10 years ago, but it certainly feels like, with all the exciting announcements I've seen so far, that we're on the cusp of something pretty big here. And I think ultimately that's what I want to talk about. I think that's probably what all of us are looking for here. I want to cover three things this morning. One is how AR and VR fit in a larger transformation story, what we call intelligent transformation in Lenovo. Secondly, some of the pain points, right? I mean, we know the glass isn't completely full in this space, that we haven't seen the degree of deployment that I think we need for scale and achieve the great things that we know are possible here. So I think we need to be open about what are those challenges and how do we as a group solve them. And then finally, I'll talk a bit about what Lenovo is doing to solve some of these challenges. First, a little bit about us. If you're not familiar, we're a large connected device producer today, right? And as we add products like AR and VR to that mix, that even gets bigger. But we produce about 100 million connected devices last year. Almost half of those are in commercial, and I'll be primarily focused on commercial today, principally because we see that as the fastest path to ROI and deployment for our customers. But we're also experienced at AR/VR, mainly in the consumer space, but you may remember the Fab 2 Pro on the Tango platform, the Jedi Challenge in collaboration with Disney, the Mirage Solo as an all-in-one VR platform, and then most recently we've worked to co-develop the Rift S with Oculus. So let me talk a little bit about how we see transformation. We're in the IT business, so we approach this maybe a little bit differently than many of the folks that have been singularly focused on AR and VR. But look, you had the traditional IT business sort of on the left side of this chart. Servers have gotten more powerful. Storage has gotten larger. PCs have gotten thinner, lighter, more powerful. We had the mobility movement. And then cloud came in. And then we started to see all of this data and AI tools that allowed us to make sense of this data. And something interesting happened then, right? A lot of this IT power traditionally has been really focused on the office setting, the data center. But we started to see that folks out in the manufacturing floor, in the warehouse, in remote oil rigs, et cetera, wanted access to this power. And we started to see IoT and edge computing to make sense of this data at the edge, at the point of use, where they needed to act on it and to collect this data and get insights. And so I think it's important to look at this holistically, because I see AR and VR really being an extension of this whole transformation that you see here. And as such, we have to recognize that these products and solutions need to live in this world with all of the rest of that traditional IT environment, including security, which is paramount to the CEOs that we talk to. And I doubt this needs much convincing, but all of the data suggests from all of the analysts that digital transformation is leading to business results. And companies that want to compete today and in the future are going to have to be driving these kinds of intelligent transformations. But why AR, right, and VR? Well, Harvard Business Review did a nice article, I thought, that really dived in to how humans process information. And it's proven that visual information is by far the most efficient and effective way to communicate and transfer information. I think it's kind of obvious, though, right, when you think about it. My mother always said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. My kids, if they want to learn how to do something new for the first time, have always gone to YouTube, right? So it's fairly clear, I believe, that vision is a preferable medium to what we've really been in a text kind of world, throughout the computing age so far, right? But that's not all, right? AR takes that from a 2D world to a 3D world, which gets the ability to process information even better and more efficient. And for the last 600 years or so, since the printing press, we've been operating largely in a 2D world, right? Maybe other than an Avatar movie or two, right? So bridging this gap between a kind of offline 2D world that now can be at the point of use, in context, in a 3D world, just provides tremendous tremendous opportunities for AR and as primarily, but to a lesser extent than VR in terms of communicating information. And this is why we're so excited about it. And I think this is probably why all of us are so excited about it, is this opportunity. There's also macro trends happening. We're going through a generational shift at work. The baby boomers who have years of experience are retiring, and they're being replaced with millennials and post-millennials as they enter the workforce. And what we're seeing is that, especially in some of these complex equipment skilled workers, that companies are running into shortages. At the same time, as the millennials enter the workforce, they've grown up in a digital age, and they're actually making decisions about who they work for based on the technology they're going to be using. So there's a fundamental shift in the way we work and what employees are expecting in the workforce. And again, AR and VR help to close this gap, right? In workforce training, and how to make that more effective as these new folks enter these skilled jobs, how to transfer knowledge, and how to create a completely immersive environment that these folks are used to in their day-to-day work. And somewhat surprisingly to me, the CEOs don't need a lot of convincing. 70% of CEOs expect AR and VR to be mainstream in their businesses in the next 5 years. So we think of this idea of transformation, intelligent transformation, in 3 primary ways, and we're involved in all of them. The first is in the home. I doubt this needs much convincing, because my expectation is, in this kind of a group, all of you have a number of devices in your home that you didn't know you needed 5 years ago, right? That we're using every day. I know I have many. The office is transforming. You know, I'm old enough, unfortunately, that when I went to work, I got a walled office with a desk phone, right? That world is largely gone. And when we talk to our customers, all of them are looking for help. And how do I keep employees happy, productive, collaborative in these new spaces? And we're doing some things outside of even making better PCs to address that market. But the one I'm most excited about, and I think the one most relevant to the conversation, is what we're calling smarter business. And this is, again, taking that power of the IT environment outside the home, outside the office, and really to every corner of the world where our customers are doing work, be it the factory floor, out in the field, at an oil rig, in a hospital, whatever, right? And this, to me, is where we really have a greenfield from an IT community to make a difference and drive our customers' productivity and intelligent transformation in areas like edge computing, in areas like IoT, and even more so in AR and VR. So that's the area I'm really going to kind of focus on, because, again, we believe this is where we'll see AR and VR adopted the fastest and the earliest. So these are some of the applications, when we talk to our customers, that they're most excited about moving on really today, right? Really anything that has a complex physical nature is just an obvious candidate for AR and VR, given all the reasons we talked about. You know, manufacturing, assembly, maintenance, architectural, engineering, construction, oil, gas, and even healthcare, right? I mean, healthcare, you think about the human body, is a pretty complex physical mechanism. And VR, I'm not spending a lot of time on VR today just for the sake of time, but there's certain cases where obviously that pulling away from the real world doesn't work so well if you're in surgery, works very well if you're in training for surgery, right? All of these have tremendous value, tremendous ROI in this digital transformation age. The far and away, when we talk to customers, the first use case out of the gate is remote expert, right? I mean, remote expert addresses all of the things I've talked about. It allows a skilled worker back in an office that didn't have to spend a lot of time traveling to some remote location to really leverage his or her expertise in a very collaborative, real-world, 3D way with, let's say, an airplane mechanic, right, on the tarmac, wherever he or she may be, and collaborate in real time with all of the voice, all of the video, see what I see, pull up diagrams, display them, collaborate, annotate them, etc. This is by far and away what we see as the first use case. But this is pretty complicated, and as I said, I think we've got to really talk about, given all this potential, given all of this promise, why hasn't there been more deployment? Well, first off, if a company is going to really adopt this across their enterprise, it looks a little bit like this complicated diagram. What I need in engineering and construction versus field service versus logistics or even HR is a pretty varied environment, right? And so what we hear from our customers is, of course we need better hardware. And certainly we've already seen better hardware this morning, right, and today. In this show. Every year, I expect, we've seen better and better hardware. So we're getting there. And they also need more choice because all these environments are going to be different. And not only do they need more choice in terms of devices, they need more choice in terms of platforms and support and everything that goes with it. One size clearly is not going to fit all if this is going to reach broad-scale deployment. They need a better way to develop apps, right? This is complicated, and not everyone wants to hire an army of Unity programmers. So really this idea of taking a headset, hand it to a company and saying, hey guys, have fun, let us know what you can figure out what to do with this, I think is not the right approach to drive broad-scale deployment. We've got to, as a group, make app development easier for commercial customers to use. And again, these devices and apps and users are going to exist in this broader IT ecosystem if it's truly going to be mainstream, right? And so it needs all of the same security, manageability, deployability that your PC or phone would have today in a work environment. And so we think this needs openness, right? It needs openness to get this choice, to get all of this, this collective benefits of what we're offering at an enterprise where they can feel comfortable with their investment. It has to be open and allow all of us to work together towards filling these gaps. Okay, so about 2 weeks ago, we had an internal conference with our customers and our business partners and announced the Think Reality brand. So we are taking our shot at Lenovo of how do we solve some of these problems and close some of the gaps I just talked about. Some of you may know us by our ThinkPads and ThinkCenters and ThinkServers, and so we're leveraging this commercial brand of Think in the AR/VR space and announced this brand of Think Reality. It's a solutions-based approach, though. I don't want you to think about just devices. You may think of us as devices, but this is very much a solutions-based approach because of all of what we've heard from customers in terms of their proof points and what they need to deploy at scale. We've got a short video, if we can pull that up, and this will introduce you to the Think Reality brand.
Industry is at the dawn of a new age in immersive computing. Technology is challenging the physical world. The way we interact with our environment is changing. Work is transforming. We are enabling this third wave. Our advanced AR software tools empower engineers to create applications across industries to solve problems in ways that were previously unimaginable. And our next generation devices, combined with this software platform, are making this transformation happen in inconceivable ways. Are you ready to transform?
Okay, a little snapshot there, and I'll dig in a bit deeper. So again, I said this is a solution, not just a product or not just a headset. So really the star of the show from my point of view is it starts with this scalable software platform Of course, we're going to have some hardware, and I'll show you our first product in the hardware suite here in a second. And we plan to package this with services so that we can go into our customers and help them with this app development, deployment, management problem that I talked about. I'll dig in a little deeper. First off, this has to address the whole life cycle. Again, we're going to provide tools to build the apps, build the use cases, build the case, deploy it, and then manage it from a full life cycle perspective, right? That's really the goal here. So let's talk about the platform. And I don't have time to go through every element of it, but let me hit a few highlights. First off, for the developers, there's an SDK so that you can easily add the Think Reality functionality into your apps, right? This isn't about giving them an app. This is about giving them a platform that our customers can build their own apps in their own workflows in their own way, right? There is a workflow builder to help and aid in that, and there are cloud and device services so that common microservices like the remote expert that I talked about will be pre-packaged in there so that there's no point in every customer developing that on their own. They can, as I call it, drag and drop that into their workflow and build their workflows around it. Right? And then, of course, all of the deployment and manageability tools that any IT professional would expect with an IoT endpoint or a compute device in their environment. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So in the cloud portal, there's a dashboard for all of the normal app and device management things, but including things like telemetry on the headset that is special purpose and built for an AR/VR environment so that our customers know how their users and their devices are performing in the field. Device management, app management, user groups, et cetera, that you would typically see in a management platform. And as I said, choice we find to be a critical requirement from our customers. And so we've done this all in a completely agnostic way, right? I'm going to show you a device in a second, but if you don't like that device, you have another device you want to use, feel free to use it and build your apps around it and deploy it in this environment. Same with cloud platforms. We'll have a cloud platform, but if you use AWS or Azure, feel free to do it in that environment, or we can deploy it on-prem as well. So completely agnostic approach that we think is critical for our customers to have confidence to start down this journey and feel confident that they can adapt that as the industry grows and as the requirements grow. So the device, I happen to have one with me. We think we have done a pretty good job of developing this, of fixing some of the pain points that you've seen. There's a little bit of commonality with Chi and some of his design points. So I think that's good. I think that shows some of the maturity around these ideas and that this is getting ready to deploy. We've won already 2 design awards. We really wanted this. Now, this is a fully functioning, full SLAM device, purpose-built for enterprise that has all of the attributes that we believe a complex use case that I've been talking about will need. But we also recognize that if a worker is going to wear this a good chunk of his or her day, it has to be light, it has to be comfortable. We thought maybe modeling after a baseball cap would be a good sort of approach, right? One hand, put it on very simply, and it's quite comfortable to use. I won't go through all the specs. This is actually better because the lights are locked out. I might wear it the rest of the time. But fully functional with everything you'd expect in a headset for this type of use case. 380 grams, I believe that's about the lightest fully functioning headset on the marketplace today. And again, this is purpose-built for the enterprise sort of environment with a very strong field of view, shatter-resistant visor, et cetera, et cetera. It is almost better with it on, honestly. But again, we also agree that putting the battery on your head isn't the best thing, especially if you're building something for all shift work. So we've taken what's creatively called a compute box and put a large battery in here that's also swappable, so that if you are using it as a full day or much of a full day sort of use, At lunchtime, you can swap out the battery for a new one, and you're productive the rest of the afternoon. The other advantages to me is, there's multiple ways that you can interface with this device. We'll have gesture, we'll have gaze. But if you do want to operate the controls, it's a lot easier, more intuitive to do it down here where your hands are than fishing around for buttons on your head, in our view. So we believe this is a design. This will be connected with a USB cable that I don't have here, but a much better design for the enterprise worker. And you can put this on your belt, you can put it in your pocket, you could put it around a lanyard. There's a whole host of accessories to use this in whatever way you want to use. I'm not talking about VR a lot here, but we see that this platform can also be used for VR. VR will have some unique development challenges, but for the most part, the device management, user management are all the same if you've got VR products in your, let's say, training room, et cetera. So we will be adding to the platform, potentially the devices, in terms of how to add VR into this total solution. And this is very partner friendly. Again, a very open environment. Our customers want choice. We want to give them choice. So we will be working with selected customers, selected system integrators, selected ISVs, content providers, et cetera, in a very partner-friendly way to create solutions for our customers. Right now, we're starting to work with selected customers on the platform. The A6 headset will be available in limited release next quarter. Again, we'll be working with some of our biggest customers that are interested in full-scale deployment over the next couple of quarters, and we'll announce general availability for this and pricing at the end of the year. We did pressure test this. We did field test it with Airbus. So they had exactly the kind of use case that I've been talking about, a very complex 3D remote expert sort of environment. They're, I would say, one of the leaders in this and deploying this in their environment. And so they came in, used the platform our platform with all of their existing platforms in kind of this multi-platform, open, agnostic sort of way. And in 6 weeks, developed a very complex app around remote expert in a 3D modeling sort of environment. So we're very happy to see that it's not just us, but we've gotten very good feedback from some very knowledgeable customers about the value proposition that we bring here. So hopefully we're all convinced that transformation is here, it's crucial, and I've convinced you that AR and VR is really a piece of that broader transformation story. The use case, the potential, to me just seems immensely obvious, but I do think there are challenges in the enterprise environment to full-scale deployment. Of course we've got to continue to iterate around headsets and hardware and technology, and I think we're making great strides to do that, as the IT industry has really always done. This does demand security and manageability if we're going to have CIOs make investments in this space, and we think that our platform has made some strides in that direction. We have to make this easy for our customers to develop apps, and again, we hope that we've provided some tools to make that happen. And our customers, again, are asking for very open solutions with trusted partners. And we, again, believe that with our knowledge of their environment and space, that we can help provide that. So, my call to action here is, when we announced this a couple weeks ago, we had some press that compared us to some of the obvious competitors and said we're going against them. And I don't see it that way at all, right? In my view, our competition here is speed, it's time, it's other ways that CIOs can spend their transformation dollars. And I think all of us have an obligation to try to solve these problems and really drive deployments so that we can make this vision a reality. Thank you.